Welcome to your next lesson. You have practiced determining which number is greater than another in scientific notation. In this lesson, you will learn how to determine how many times greater a number is than another in scientific notation. Our first step is to determine which one is greater. When we look at these two numbers, we remember our first step in determining which number is greater is to compare the exponents, 3 and 5. 5 is the greater exponent. That means this expression is greater. So let's label that. Our next step is to compare the coefficients. When we went from this 2 to this 4, what happened? So essentially we're asking ourselves, 2 times what equals 4? Well, 2 times 2 equals 4. That lets us know how many times greater the coefficients are from each other. So now let's see what happened with the exponents. When comparing the exponents, we're trying to see how many times greater 10 to the 5th power is than 10 to the 3rd power. We know when we're dealing with multiples of an exponent, what we do is add. So when we're comparing them, we will also ask ourselves an addition question. 3 plus what equals 5? Well, 3 plus 2 equals 5. Our next step is to combine our answers. When we combine our coefficient with our exponent, we get this expression, 2 times 10 to the 2nd power, which in expanded form looks like this. 2 times 100, and multiplied out together equals 200. But what does this 200 mean? Well, it means 4 times 10 to the 5th power is 200 times greater than 2 times 10 to the 3rd power. Let's take a moment and write down our steps. Please pause the video and take a moment to write down these steps before moving on to our next example. Our next example will be a way we can use these steps to determine real-life situations. In this example, we're going to be comparing 2 meters to 6 millimeters. When we compare these two numbers, we see that 6 millimeters is the greater of the two. So let's label that. Now we have to determine how many times greater is 6 millimeters to 2 meters. So 2 meters was essentially multiplied by some number to get 6 millimeters. So let's put that in. So what we're solving for is 2 times 10 to the 0 power times what will equal 6 times 10 to the 3rd power. So the first thing we need to do is compare our coefficients. 2 times what is 6? Well, 2 times 3 is 6. Now let's compare our exponents. Because what we're trying to determine is what this number is here, and we know when we're multiplying exponents, what we really do is add them together. So our question now is 0 plus what equals 3? 0 plus 3 equals 3. So our next step is to combine these numbers into scientific notation. We get 3 times 10 to the 3rd power, which if we write in expanded form equals 3 times 1,000, which multiplied out equals 3,000. That allows us to know that 6 meters are exactly 3,000 times greater than 2 meters. This skill allows us to answer essential questions like this. How many times greater is the world's population compared to the population of the United States? Well, let's look at both populations in scientific notation. Without even looking at the numbers, I could conclude that the world's population is greater than the population of America, but I labeled it nevertheless. I know my next step is to compare the coefficients. This is where this problem varies from other ones we have tried before. When we ask ourselves, 3 times what equals 7, there is an exact number that equals 7. So we're going to estimate. 3 times 2 is almost 7. So now let's compare our exponents. When comparing my exponents, I have to ask myself, 8 plus what equals 9? Well, 8 plus 1 equals 9. My next step is to combine my information to my scientific notation. I get 2 times 10 to the first, which in expanded form is 2 times 10. When I multiply that out, I get 20, which means the world's population is about 20 times greater than the population of America. Your lesson check for today is for each of you to tell me how many times greater these numbers are from each other. Turn it in to your teacher and receive your homework for today.